I don't know. I don't know if I'm audible.
You're audible.
I am audible. That is awesome. I don't know. I don't know if I'm audible.
You're audible.
Okay. Okay, I was a little bit concerned there. Rick Glaser, how do you do?
Doing well under the same set of circumstances we've been doing since March 10th over here in America. It's pretty ugly. We're on lockdown like most of the world is. So we're just coping and hoping that things improve relatively quickly. Some of us are losing our minds over here, going stir crazy, but we're doing the best we can under this circumstance. And it's a funny thing. I look forward to doing the show with you, and you let me know a week in advance and all that, because I have something to look forward to. If it wasn't for your show today,
Yeah.
Why get out of bed? You know what I'm saying? So it really gives me something to do, besides doing nothing. If you know what I'm saying, under the circumstances, because there's nothing you can do. You can't go out. There's nothing open. The grocery stores, gas stations. But the funny thing, you don't drive around, so you don't need gas.
Yeah.
You go to the supermarket once a week right now, because normally you go every 3 days, but you got to want to go as little as possible. So you run out, get all your stuff, come back, and just sit around doing nothing. So it's great to be on your show for a multitude of reasons, but that's one in particular right now. And just hope things change relatively quickly, because we're all going crazy in America. Let me tell you that right now.
Yeah. I hear you. Well, for me, I think the only thing that I can do really, I'm occupied with the show. So the show keeps me occupied. A. B, the weather's been great over here. It's like almost every day has been a summer day. So we need to get our exercise. So I take the bike out every day. So I've got two things, that I know I can do: work on the channel and go for my bike ride. So I think those are the things that are keeping me sane right about now. But I totally hear you. Yeah, it feels kind of. I've never felt this lazy in my life. It's not good. I don't like it. The sooner we can get back to proper work, the better. I don't even know if I've received the notification yet that we've gone live. I don't even know. It takes a few minutes for YouTube to get with the program. Let me do a quick check. Yeah, Red Glove has retweeted that. Much appreciation. Let me give that a like. Okay. And a thumbs up. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So that's the formalities underway. We're still waiting for YouTube waiting to hear that ping, which means that we are live, but we've got Rick Glaser. Rick Glaser has been kind enough to jump back on. So we're going to get straight into it. And remember to post your questions up for Rick Glaser. He's more than happy to oblige. So it's an interview and a question Q&A. Okay, so where are we? I think I've introduced the show. It's Boxing Talk with Rafi. It's a special with Rick Glaser for the fourth time. So where are we now? Yeah, it's Boxing Talk with Rafi 121. So let's do a roll call. We got H Money in the building. We got the Red Gloved Militant. You are audible. I'm very pleased. Very pleased about that. A lazy Raf is not a happy Raf. No, not at all. We need purpose and routine. Okay, we got a question for Rick already. Yeah, hit that like, share, subscribe, let the masses know. Okay, so let's go with the question from the chat. Let's go with Ty Trips. Where do you think Deontay Wilder's career is going now? What now that he is not champion? I believe he will be in the league just under Joseph Parker. Damn. That's for you, Rick.
Well, first of all, he's got a rematch clause that he's so far exercised. Whether he goes through with it or not is a different issue. I think he will, and I just can't see him doing anything differently in the second fight. Even if he got 50% better, it's not going to be able to compete with Tyson Fury, because Tyson Fury will just rise to the occasion. I think that once Tyson Fury finishes him off and knocks him out quickly the second time, I think he'll just be, if he doesn't retire, he'll never be on the status as an opponent like a Joseph Parker. Now, as a champion, he was on a bigger platform, but as a opponent type guy, he doesn't have the chin and the boxing skills and this physical strength that Joseph Parker has. So he'll be more or less taken advantage of easier. Where being that type of fighter, Parker is very durable, very strong, got a great chin, and got good feet. And I can't say that that Wilder has any of those qualifications. So I think once he gets off that top plateau, he's going to plateau down quickly, because he can't beat those next guys down that he would be fighting. He can't beat the Daniel Dubois and stuff like that. If you've noticed, Frank Warren this week, in the last couple of days, came out with a statement that we want to fight Wilder. He didn't scream for Joseph Parker. He screamed for Wilder, because Wilder will make Daniel Dubois look like the next Mike Tyson. Whether he is going to be or not is a different issue. But Wilder is so tailor-made for a Dubois. He's been softened up now, and he's screaming for the fight. But you don't hear him screaming for Joseph Parker. So that fact is telling right there. And I just don't think that Wilder has a good future going forward in boxing. I think his best days are behind him. If he wins another fight in his career, it's because he was, it's a stay busy fight, and in between one of those, bringing a hobo. But he can't beat anybody real. We saw that. He's not beating the Joshuas. He's not beating the Dillian Whites. He's obviously not beating Fury. I don't think he can beat anybody of consequence.
Yeah. And that leads into one of my questions. When the hell is Deontay Wilder? Will Deontay Wilder ever face one of these, a British fighter other than a top British fighter, not named Tyson Fury? Because they're queuing up. They're queuing up for him. They're queuing up.
I think my last question maybe answered that, in the sense that he's gonna fight Fury next, reputedly and supposedly, allegedly. And after he wins that, he's just going to be an opponent. So who's he going to fight? He's going to fight a Dubois, somebody like that. Now, if let's assume White doesn't fight Fury, I can't see them putting in Tyson Fury against White. There's not enough money. Dubois, there might be enough money. So we'll see. But I just don't think those fights are possible. I think that once he gets finished off, that if Heyman's going to use him up, it's going to be with one of his own guys.
Yes. So the message for us UK fans is: do not hold your breath. Don't hold your breath waiting for Deontay Wilder to be fighting a UK guy not named Tyson Fury. My reasoning for that, my rationale is that Deontay Wilder thought that Tyson Fury, well, he called him. He said it aloud. It's no secret. He said that Tyson Fury was Mr. Pillow Hands, pillow fisted, powder puff. But I put it to you, Rick Glaser, that even if someone is relatively light-handed, not the heaviest hitter, those accumulations, those powder punches, those powder puff punches accumulate. The cumulative result of those punches, Tyson Fury punches, means that the towel gets thrown in.
Well, exactly. A lot of great fighters were not punchers. Okay, going back to Willie Pep. Marvelous Marvin Hagler wasn't a great puncher. He was a grind down puncher.
Yeah.
And, Pernell Whitaker wasn't a great puncher. Calzaghe, once his hands got brittle, was not a great puncher, but he still succeeded. Paul Spadafora. The list goes on, to be honest with you. And power punching is a small facet of the overall psyche of boxing, but a bigger percentage in the heavyweight division. And the aura of a puncher is much superior over a boxer. That's why the world clamored for Mike Tyson. The world clamored for George Foreman. These guys were, vicious punchers. And even back in the day, a lot farther than that, Ernie Shavers. The crowd, Sonny Liston before that, the crowds never got excited over feather-fisted guys. Floyd Patterson was not a big puncher. It just, people want to see heavy, they want to see knockouts, and certain fighters have the ability to supply those knockouts. Certain fighters don't. And but that overall is a small part of boxing, and it's once it leaves the heavyweight division, it's a much smaller part. Heavyweights, it's more about punching power because the guys are not as athletic and they're not as fast as the smaller guys, so they depend on power more.
Yes. I would have to agree with that. So let me get that off the screen. So we finish with the Dubois v Wilder. Did you call that fight Dubois v Wilder? Have we talked specifically about that fight because Frank Warren's trying to make that fight?
No, the Wilder Dubois destroys Wilder, like maybe 2 to 3 rounds at the most, 3 rounds at the most. Don't forget, he's much heavier handed than Fury, and now his psyche's gone. He saw Fury has softened them up for the next guy. No matter what's next for Wilder, and if he doesn't take the Fury fight, he's definitely softened up now. There's no question about that, mentally, physically. And when, like I said to you on the couple prior shows here, once you take a sustained beating over 7 rounds, your motor skills, everything, it's very degenerative, and you go downhill from there. He took a hellacious beating. There's no question. I mean, here's a guy that never won a second of the fight and was getting slammed around you really could have called a knockdown 2 other times on Fury in the fight. I mean, on Wilder, because of the fact that he fell back against the ropes, and the only thing that held him up was the ropes. Well, that constitutes the knockdown.
Yeah.
And I, as I told you on a prior show, and I told all your great viewing audience, that basically speaking is, I thought that Kenny Bayless, and I like Kenny Bayless, he's a professional, but I thought he favored Wilder in the fight.
Yeah.
So, if he was face to face with me, I'd tell him the same thing. I mean, there's no reason to not call those 2 other knockdowns, those other 2 other times that he literally fell against the ropes with no legs under him, that they weren't knockdowns. Those were knockdowns.
Yes, there's a strong argument for that. Do you think that Jack Reese in the previous fight favored Fury?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm going to give you my best thing about Jack Reese. Jack Reese is the ultimate professional in every which way in that ring. He's got total control. He's got tremendous judgment. He stays out of the way. He only inserts himself when absolutely necessary. He's what I call the perfect referee. Okay, there's nothing negative anybody can say about Jack Reese. I thought that he gave an undefeated. Remember something. What you call him, the lineal champion. He was the unified championship that he took from Klitschko. He was undefeated. He gave him every chance to get up, and he got up. It wasn't like he wasn't about to count him out. He was about to count him out. He rose from Fury rose from the dead, and that's all there is to it. Now, people say something funny. Well, did Jack Reese? Do you think he should have let him get up? What do you mean let him get up? He got up on his own. Nobody helped him get up. I mean, it's cock for schmucks. He got up, okay, on his own volition. Nobody pulled him up. Nobody hoisted him, and said, "Oh, get up," physically pushed him up. It didn't work like that. He got up on his own. So obviously, Jack Reese made the right call. That's obvious, and he continued on in the fight. So he was knocked down again after that in the 12th round. I'm referring to. So he made the right decision.
So the counter argument to that, Rick, is that any other ref, when Tyson went down the way he did in the first fight in round 12, any other ref would have waved it off. Forget about the count. Would have just waved it off.
Obviously, they're wrong because he beat the count. He got up and he fought on. And he had his total scruple. If you remember, after the fight, he sounded perfect. And when the fight was over, they interviewed him. He sounded perfect. If he was slurring his words or something like that, okay, then you say, well, maybe he should have stopped it. There was nothing there to indicate he should have stopped it. Did he? In other words, most guys, are you saying that if he would have hit the deck hard like that and his eyes were shut for a split second, would they stop it? Yeah, but they would turn out to be wrong. That's why Jack Reese is the man that he is. And that's why if Jack Reese is ever a referee in a fight, I don't question anything. Jack Reese is a pro.
Jack Reese is a pro. Says Rick Glaser. Some other people say he wants to make it about him. Jack Reese wants to make it about him. They question.
No, Ralph, not at all. I've only had the luxury of meeting him a couple times, and I'm not friends with him at all. I barely know him. I've met him a couple times at fights, and he's always a true professional in every regard. And if anybody thinks as a referee, I'm talking about other referees, think that they can do a better job than Jack Reese, I'm sorry, that's not happening. He is the best referee in the world right now. And I don't care who they're talking about, bar any of them. Frank Garza, who primarily does WBC fights, he's one of the best referees also.
What's that guy's name, Frank?
Frank Garza. He's from Detroit area. He's Garza. He's one of the also top referees that I'd really rely on. They tend to give Frank smaller guys because he's got very fast feet. Okay, Jack moves around like the fighters, so they tend to give him smaller fights, like junior welterweight, junior welterweight and down, because of the fact that he's got fast feet. When you got bigger fighters like Eddie Cotton, may rest in peace, lovely man. He ended up with the Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis fight because he's a big rough guy. He was as big as the fighters, and he can get in there and break them up. And the bigger the fighters are, the bigger and stronger the referees have to be to separate them. But when the fighters are physically smaller, and they normally have faster feet, so you tend to go for a referee with faster feet, so they can keep up with the fighters. I mean, the funniest thing is if you watch NFL football in America, You see 65-year-old, 70-year-old referees trying to keep up with the players who have the ball running down the field. They end up 30 yards ahead of them. There's no way. There's no way a 65-year-old, 70-year-old school teacher or banker that's a real job, can keep up with a 25-year-old NFL football player. That isn't happening. So, that's sort of comical. But in boxing, a good boxing commission will give you a referee that's tailored for that type of fight. Not only that, if nobody speaks English, they both speak Spanish, they give you a Spanish referee. Any commission that's alert and on the ball follows certain guidelines when assigning certain referees to certain fights. And if they don't, they're not doing their job as the commissioner, because you can't give a big, slow. Here's another problem you got. I've seen it many times. They'll assign a big, huge referee to guys that weigh 115, 118 pounds, even 122. Those fighters look like the babies out there. It looks funny. They look like they're I don't know what you call it, like midgets or dwarfs. and it's not right. They need to pay attention. The commissions need to pay attention, because people's lives and livelihoods are on the line, and they need to pay attention on who that they assign, because a smaller referee with small fighters can get in there quicker. Okay, where a bigger referee in a bigger fight, he's big and strong, and he can get in there and easily break them up. And these are things that have to be taken into consideration. Some of these commissioners don't. I know they do in California. I know they do in Pennsylvania. I know they do in New Jersey, Larry Hazard. But some states don't pay any attention to that. Nevada is one of them. They don't pay any attention to that. And that's a shame.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a question. Let's go out to another question from the chat. Get your questions in. Where are we? Okay, so Raphael, ask Rick to tell you the story about when he used to book James Toney. Hilarious stories.
Well, I didn't book James Toney as a fighter. And thank you, Troy Graham. Troy's a hell of a nice guy. I didn't book James Toney as a fighter. I booked opponents for him, and I also supplied him with sparring partners. And the stories are countless. I'll tell you one quick story. So I'm already supplying sparring opponents and sparring partners for James, but I hadn't met him yet. I meet him for the first time. His then manager, Jackie Callan, this is like 1994, introduces me to James. This is James Toney.
Yeah.
This is Rick Glaser. We shake hands. My man. He knows all my name, but he didn't know. He had never met me. So James is wearing this lime green shoes, lime green pants, and lime green shirt. Okay, all together. And he's got the alligator type shoes on, or eel, or I don't know, snake, or whatever they were. And I looked at him, and I'm wearing a pair of jeans and like a polo type of shirt with the thing hanging out, my sunglasses on. And James says to me, I said to James, James, who dressed you? GQ? He says, what's that?
OMG. For the people in the chat who don't know what GQ is, it's like a high-end magazine.
It's a high-end fashion magazine, and also for high living amongst successful people. So they call it GQ.
Yeah, it's a GQ. It's a GQ look. Sharp, lifestyle, wealthy, affluent. James Toney didn't know. James Toney strikes me as a kind of meat and potatoes kind of guy. You don't need none of the frills. Need none of the frills.
Only frills were on his trunks.
Say that again.
Only frills were on his trunks, on the side of his trunk.
Okay. Let's scroll on down here. And Let's scroll on down. Okay, we got one from H. Monet. Okay, so he says H. Monet, controversial character, says, how do you do? Says Rick, what are your thoughts on Tyson Fury? Oh my gosh, I didn't even read this, but it's a good one. Tyson Fury's history of PED usage, shall we say, and tampering with gloves in the sport of boxing.
Well, I'm totally against performance enhancing drugs, and I think that for Tyson Fury, that was then, this is now. Okay, so I don't see it. They're drug testing him in every fight since he came to America, so I can't say he's doing it. And all he's fought so far in America 4 times, and he hasn't failed a drug test. So I can't go by past history when he fought in well, he did fight the United States before those 4 fights, but I'm going back to the latest 4 fights. That's what we're dealing with. And he's been tested every fight multiple times, before, after, during training, and he's come up clean. So I believe that's a thing of the past for Tyson Fury. As far as the glove tampering, that whole story is a cockamamie. The glove gate thing is, a bunch of crap. Didn't exist. If it existed, Wilder would have said so in his list of excuses, his 49 million excuses that he gave and why he lost the fight. He never mentioned anything about illegal gloves or glove tampering. So I don't believe it existed. First of all, the picture that they showed, okay, people tell me it's Photoshop, but it still came from the first fight because it had the red tape. We discussed this prior, you and I.
Yeah.
It had the red tape on the glove, and Nevada uses gray or white tape. Especially gray. So I don't believe it. Even if it was in the first fight, when you hit somebody in the face like this, the glove pushes up and back on your hand from the combustion and the impact and the combustion. So I don't believe that there was any glove tampering. The chain of concession in handling the gloves is so strict. There's no way, and they watch the gloves in America. I'm not saying they do that in England. I don't know that. Okay, I know they have some stricter rules in the British Board of Boxing Control, and some lesser rules in certain areas. But I will tell you that those gloves are, especially for a world title fight, are carefully looked after throughout the whole process, including post fight. Again. Continue.
Yes. So that's the answer. That's the answer to H. Monet's question. If there were PEDs involved, then that was in the past. But right about now, he's being tested regularly. And question from Troy Graham. Yeah, you can jump on, Troy. I don't think Rick will mind you jumping on and asking a question. Do you mind Troy Graham jumping on and asking you a question, Rick?
No, fine. I love Troy. Great guy.
Yeah, but Troy, you got to have a picture in your avatar. So when you come up on screen, it's not just a blank space. It's very easy to do. Where's the link?
Here's another question. Lightweight question. I know. Would Rick like to see the cameras back and the ring card girls? Hardly see them anymore because of PC culture. What's PC culture mean?
PC, politically correct. It's, we're not seeing the girls anymore.
Ring card girls are part of boxing, okay, and it goes back many years, and there's no reason why. If people are offended, then they need to go somewhere else, because there's no reason. Forget about politically correct when it comes to ring card girls and boxing. I mean, they go in the corner and they used to apologize if the corner man, the trainer, used to swear at the fighter, okay, or the referee for that matter. They don't apologize they don't even apologize anymore. Forget about politically correct when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. They should show the ring card girls. The people are paying to watch the action, and the ring card girls are part of the action. They're part of the ambiance and the scenery of a boxing show, and there's no reason why. It's not like they're nude, number one, Okay. Number two is it's not like they're on their knees performing a sexual act. This is they're walking around with a ring card. Come on now, please. I mean, let's stop with this politically correct BS when it comes to stuff like that.
Yes, yes, yes. And here he is himself, Troy. Troy, you're on. You get to ask. You get to ask your questions.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Raphael? What's up, Rick?
Baltimore in the house. Troy, how are you?
Good. I'm not going to stay too long because my signal is bad, but I want to ask you a question. If you were Wilder's matchmaker right now at this point in his career, how would you guide him, and what would you advise him to do? Would you tell him to jump into the rematch or take the step aside money and get 2 checks?
No. We discussed this on last week's show. Okay. And maybe you weren't on last week's show, but I'll go over it again for you because I like you. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't go over it again. Now, here's the deal. He could probably get $5 million step aside money, I'm sure. Okay, maybe more. He could take 2 fights for $4 million apiece. That's $8 million. That's $13 million, and get 5 more no matter who wins the fight. Guaranteed in the contract now, as part of the step aside, to get $5 more million than he would have gotten. So if he would have gotten 35 million, 28 million to fight Wilder, he can get another 5 million, 33 million. Okay. So he can get $18 more million for 2 tune-up fights where those guys are fighting each other, and the time to promote the show and everything will take months. He can go on and fight two hand-picked tune-ups like the Eric Molinas of the world and the Gerald Washington. Not that he hasn't fought those guys, but those type of guys, and $18 million, and give him the chance to work with a new trainer. I don't think he can improve with a new trainer, but try to improve with a new trainer and learn something about the sport, about the science of the game that he doesn't know already in those 2 fights. You
said that.
So the 2 additional training camps you'd have. So it's a no-brainer that I wouldn't want him to step back in the ring in that fight right away like that. Be financially because of 18 million difference, and because it'll give him a chance to extend his career. Because if he loses twice in a row to Fury, he's basically, yesterday's news. If he wins 2 fights, loses to Fury, then he can come back again in a meaningful fight. Okay, but once he loses to Fury twice in a row, he's basically going to be, yesterday's news and put out the pasture.
Okay. Well, 2 quick questions, because like I said, my signal is terrible, then I'm gone, all right?
Yep.
So as far as you said the trainers, you would get him, you tell him to be honest with himself and get a new trainer and actually learn how to listen, right?
If he's going to get a new trainer, like he says he's going to, or somebody to bring in and teach him, yes, that's what he should do. I'm not telling him to get a new trainer. I don't have that. They don't know what they taught him, and I don't know what he didn't learn. All I know is he can't box elect.
Okay,
that's obvious. Whether they never taught him, and that's all he's capable of, I don't know, because I don't know what they taught him. But he's pretty bad. He can't box elect. Continue.
All right. Well, as a young trainer myself, I can tell you they didn't teach him the fundamentals, but I'm going to throw out a name at you. One I'm serious about, and one and I'm going to wonder how they're going to mesh together, right? The serious one I'm talking about is Buddy McGirt. Go ahead.
Buddy McGirt is an excellent trainer. I have nothing but high respect for Buddy as a person and as a trainer. But I think Buddy would improve him, but I don't think he would improve him. I don't think anybody is capable of improving Fury enough that he's going to beat. Wilder, they can improve him enough to beat Tyson Fury. I just don't see that. I think Buddy can improve him 10%, if that's the question.
All right. And then part B to that same question is James Toney, because James Toney is young in as far as training goes, but I know he's a great fighter and all that. I also know James's personality, and so do you, right? How do you think those two would mesh together?
Well, as a trainer, as a fighter, like Wilder, you'd have to respect what James Toney accomplished in boxing and the great fighter he was and how good his skills were and his ring knowledge. The problem is that James's style that he fought does not equivalate to Wilder's issues. And they're totally two different types of fighters. So, so you can't, if James was to go and take Fury and work with him with his shortcomings, James would be good for him, yes. But if James was going to go try to make him fight like him, it wouldn't be any good. So that's a weird question. It depends what James is going to teach him and show him. Is he going to take Wilder and refine him and try to make him better, or is he going to try to change his style and fight more like James? There's only one James Toney. James Toney fought like Archie Moore. Okay, that's how that goes. Okay, that's a very, very rare breed of fighter. I can't think of too many other guys that fought like James Toney. Like I said, Archie Moore. You know, that was in the mid 60s. So in the latest. So if you understand what I'm saying, I hope you do, that if James was to take Wilder and make him a better fighter on the mistakes that he's already making, that he would be good for him. But if he tried to change his style to fight like him, then he wouldn't be good for him.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. Don't teach him his style. Just teach him like, the subtle things. Because when Fury, was putting the weight on him, was leaning on him. If that was James would have just dropped his shoulder. He would have pivoted and caught Fury with a hook. That's just stuff that I basically know.
The problem with that is, if my mother had balls, she'd be my father.
Kind of like if my auntie.
James Toney can do that. Other people can't. That's all there is to it.
All right, man.
Okay, good talking to you. You're always a gentleman, Troy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the last one, I know I talk a lot. Spence and Crawford. How would you get that fight made?
How would I get it made?
Yeah, you're a matchmaker, so how would you get them to come to some common ground?
Get 2 pens and 2 contracts and put a gun to the side of Spence's head. So I'm
going to jump off, man, because my signal is real bad, but I'm going to listen to you, okay?
Okay, Troy.
How would I get that fight made? I don't know. It's just that I don't think Spence wants to fight him. I think it's all hype, and I think it's all led by the great obstructionist, Al Heyman. That's all there is to it. I mean, I don't think there's anything that's going to make Spence take that fight right now. I can't see it. Maybe in the future, I don't see that either.
I agree.
I think the big problem is that like I said on the show last week or the week before, that Heyman's career record versus Bob Arum fighters is 2-14, and his ego is so bruised. 2 wins and 14 losses. His ego is so bruised, he doesn't want to have another one of his fighters lose to an Arum fighter.
Yeah. And also PBC, they need the champions. They need the champions to service the TV deals.
Here's another question, Rob. Does Rick have any Mills Lane stories? I think he was among the very best. He was a great referee. I only have one Mills Lane story, but it's not even a good one or a bad one. So we're at a fight years ago at the MGM, and he was the referee, and he was standing in the buffet line in front of me, and he says to me, "You look familiar." So I said back to him, I said, I think I've seen you before. He never realized I was in the fight game. So that later that night, he walks up to me. We're in the hallway at the back, between the dressing rooms at the MGM. He walks up to me. He says, "I think I've seen you before." I said, "Okay." So that was it. That was it. So,
he had Mills Lane. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Mills Lane had a memory problem.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Oh,
Good, but a classy guy, very classy guy.
yeah.
Great referee, took total command and control. I know his sons Terry and Tommy Lane. They're promoters. They promote up in Reno and Reno, Nevada, several times a year, and they're classy guys. And nothing but respect for Mills and his two sons, Terry and Tommy.
And his two sons. Okay. Also, what does Rick think of Steve Smooger? Another great, I believe.
I like Steve as a person.
Right.
Okay, fun to be around, great personality, good for boxing, goes on a lot of talk shows himself, but he injects himself too much in the fight. He pulls the fighters apart when it's unnecessary, and he's in the picture too much as a referee. But he's not a bad referee. Just not that's not what I like in a referee. I think the best referees are not to be seen, and if they are, it's not about them. It's about actually breaking up the action itself when necessary.
Yes. So what we have here? Do you think James Toney actually lost to Ike Quartey?
They never fought. Ike Quartey was 47 pounder and 54, and Ike Quartey, James Toney was a 60 pounder and up. I don't know where they ever fought. I know they didn't fight. That's a fact, because I know, I'm a boxing historian of modern boxing, and I know they didn't fight. I don't know what he's referring to.
Maybe is that if they never fought, is that a fantasy fight? Maybe is that? Do you think James Toney actually loses to Ike Quartey? I don't know.
Lost to. It says actually lost to. No, they didn't fight. So
okay.
I hope Big Boys Boxing rephrases that.
Yeah, if you rephrase that, Big Boys Boxing, that'd be much appreciated. Attractive lady, there's a movie. I don't think that's a question. Georgie Porgy up in the building. Just going to listen. My signal keeps dropping out. No problem, Troy. No problem. Oh, let's find out. Okay, anyway, I've got a question for you anyway. Doing it kind of more random today. What's the craziest thing you have seen that you would care to speak of on the show? What's the
craziest anybody's ever saw in boxing was unless there's something more bizarre than this, was Mike Tyson. Forget about biting the first ear, actually taking a piece out of the second ear. I think that was the craziest thing I've ever seen in boxing. I think the second one we all saw was the fan man, the guy in that parachute coming down in that thing into the ring when Bo and Holyfield fought in the second fight. I think that was the second craziest thing that I saw. And I think the third craziest thing I saw was I think when Riddick Bowe smacked Larry Donald in the face with a closed fist at the press conference in L.A., I think that was about the third craziest thing I ever saw in boxing.
Riddick Bowe, he clenched the fist and he hit Larry Donald.
Yeah, the fight was over right there. That was on a Wednesday, I believe, or a Tuesday. The fight was on Saturday. The fight was over right there. Larry came out, ran all fight, and didn't throw any punches. Was scared out of his mind. So that was real street of Riddick Bowe. Because Larry Donald had a prayer in that fight. A prayer. You know, not that he was going to win, but he did have a prayer. But after that, he just held all night. You needed barbed wire to have him stay in the ring, for Christ's sakes. It was pretty embarrassing.
So if Riddick Bowe didn't punch him, do you think Larry Donald would have had a chance?
Yes, absolutely. Style-wise and everything, because he would have thrown punches and he wouldn't have fought so scared. As soon as he got smacked in the face, he realized he was in over his head, and Larry didn't have a big heart. It took his confidence away. Larry had three great things going for him. He had tremendous chin. He had thoroughbred legs and balance because of it. And he had a tremendous jab, just like a Larry Holmes type jab. But Larry lacked in the ticker department, to be honest with you. He had, like I said about him, the one night boxing shined, he beat Vander Holyfield. You know, he just realized that, you know, you got to fight. Kirk Johnson quit. I mean, you know, didn't have the biggest heart. Let's put it that way. Too. You know, he literally he literally lost the fight at the press conference when he got smacked in the face with a closed fist, by the way.
It was a closed fist. It was very shocking. It was very surprising. I think people know which targets to pick. People know which targets to pick because we saw, sticking with Riddick Bowe, we saw him in that situation. He finished the fight and Lennox Lewis was commentating on the fight and Riddick Bowe had to walk past him. And you remember the confrontation?
Yeah, but let me tell you something. You know, Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis is not a street guy. Riddick Bowe is a street guy.
Okay.
And Lennox Lewis always displayed himself as a complete gentleman. And, you know, it's a funny thing, you know, when Jose Suleiman sued Mike Tyson, when he bit the leg.
The leg of Lennox.
What's his name ended up in a wheelchair for a long time. Jose Suleiman, the president, then the president of WBC, is now passed away in January of 2014.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly frank with you about it, it was somebody asked Jose, how come you didn't sue Lennox Lewis? You only sued Mike Tyson. He says, what did he have to do with it? He was standing about his own business. So I think that said it all right there.
Yeah. That's not a question. That's just singing because I got high. The song Afro Man. So Rick, what my point was with that was that Riddick Bowe chose to launch a punch on Larry Donald, but when he got in the confrontation with Lennox Lewis. You say Riddick Bowe's the street guy, Lennox Lewis is not, but Riddick Bowe didn't have the same heart to punch Lennox Lewis that he had to punch Larry Donald.
Of course not. You're talking about a novice pro of 14 fights and Larry Donald about 14 fights, and you're talking about Lennox Lewis, a world champion and all that and everything else, and an Olympian. And remember, he had already knocked out Lennox already knocked out Riddick Bowe in the Olympics, you know, and eventually won the gold medal. So I think that's part of your answer right there.
Yeah. Riddick didn't have the heart to try what he tried with Larry Donald. He didn't have the heart to try it on Lennox Lewis. But, you know, since we're talking about outside ring intimidation, another one of those episodes that comes to mind was when I saw a video of Larry Holmes jumping on some cars, running on the car top, and then taking a wrestling style jump off the car onto Trevor Berbick. I don't know if you ever saw
that was unassociated with professional boxing. It had nothing to do with them fighting because they weren't fighting or anything like that. It had something to do with something personal outside the ring. And Larry didn't do that as intimidation. Larry just, you know, literally lost his marbles and was pissed off at the guy, which he had a right to be because Trevor Berbick was misbehaving, which was not unusual for Trevor Berbick. That was Trevor Berbick in real life. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he wasn't trying to intimidate him or anything like that. They weren't going to be fighting. That was strictly that he came into the hotel in Hollywood, Florida, into the Diplomat and was completely out of line. And that's what he got. You know, he come in like yelling and beefing and everything else. And, you know, Larry wanted to stand up and fight right there. So he ran out of the building. And by the time he ran around the side of the car, Larry jumped off the car, tried to jump over the car. He missed it. And he jumped off the car. It tried to tackle him. So that's what that was about. That wasn't like premeditated. That wasn't like because they were going to fight. Trevor Berbick was just out of line, period.
Gotcha. And just to stay in that vein for one more question, behind the scenes, the craziest thing or one of the craziest things you've seen that was not filmed behind the scene. It may not have been spoken about. I can see now you're going through your Rolodex of memories.
No, it actually involved me in 2014, in January of 2014, when I got attacked by a fighter in the reality show called Knockout in Vegas at a boxing gym, and he tried to attack me, and he come flying at me, and I ducked, like slipped to the side. I had been sitting in a chair. That I turned around and went after him, and he didn't know what to do. His name was Tim Coleman. I think he's presently in prison, and he's a welter. He was a welterweight. He was a USBA junior welterweight champ. But when I was tangling with him, he was a welterweight, and he was crazy. And he literally tried to attack me. It was a big article in Boxing Scene about it. That was about the craziest thing. The second craziest thing was trying to convince Paul Spadafore he was going to be world champion. That was like, had to like look at him straight in the eye and said, "This is your fight. You can do this." And he says to me, "You sure?" I says, "You don't sound like a champion to me." So there you go. That's the second craziest thing.
Are you sure? That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay, I see this thing from H Money. I don't know if I'm going to put it on the screen because he's talking about glove tampering before, which we've already gone over.
Ask it again. Ask it. Let's ask him.
Okay, it's up there.
Rich Glaser, Tyson Fury, Hammer's glove in 2004, and I don't know anything about it. I don't know if he wasn't suspended for it. Then let's forget about it. He has to be actually suspended for it. Was he suspended for it? If he was suspended, I would have heard about it. I didn't hear about it. I don't know anything about it. So it's not a subject that's probably. Listen, boxers are known to cheat in various ways. They skin back the gloves. They do all kinds of funny stuff. Okay, stuff that's to gain every advantage, and it's no different than NASCAR does. The chief mechanics and NASCAR racing, there's no different. People do cheat. Okay, people cheat on their income taxes. It's common. I don't have a problem with a person attempting to bend the rules. Outright cheating, I have a problem with. Okay, and unless he gets suspended by a boxing commission, let's forget about it, because he obviously wasn't, or we would have heard about it. Fire away. Continue.
Okay, so people are agreeing with you about the ring card girls. I need to keep up. Chase Athletic in the building. BH in the building. How can Wilder respect any ex-fighter trainer if he can't show a legend like Mike Tyson an ounce of respect?
Well, that's a good point. But because Buddy McGirt was not in the same, and James Toney was not really in the same weight class, even though Toney was in a couple heavyweight fights, actually did really well. Stopped Evander Holyfield, and the other one, John Ruiz, he beat, and they called it a no contest because he had some kind of steroids in his system. The truth of the matter is, Wilder doesn't respect anybody. That's part of the problem we have. Okay, that's why it's probably the problem he has. He respects no one, and you know what? Tyson Fury paid him no respect back in 21 minutes.
Yes. Okay, so Raphael Dawkins asked Rick to reach out to Buddy McGirt and James Toney about coming on your show. Appreciate the time, brother. Hey, Rick, if you can do that, that's cool with me. He's saying reach out. Yeah. He's saying reach out to Buddy and James.
I will. Yep, okay. I definitely will. But I don't want them on the same week as me, because I don't want them to. I don't want to feel like I'm left out like a peon. And we have a Hall of Famer here, Rick. We're two-time world champion. We don't need you, Rick.
We'd put
my ego with the line.
we put them on different days, Rick. Your spot is secure. Yeah, the parachute landing, that was crazy. That was crazy, especially when they started beating the fan man.
I'll tell you a funny story about the parachute landing.
Yeah.
2 stories about it, which are really funny. So one of them was, we were watching on the closed circuit from the Foxborough racetrack in Foxborough, Massachusetts, where the Winning Calls play. At the time they were playing the New England Patriots, and we watched it. And when I saw him coming in at an angle, like when he was about 30 feet from the ring, and I thought I was seeing something, so I took my glasses off and started wiping my face, my eyes. And I thought I was seeing something, like something was over my eye, like that. And all of a sudden, he dropped into the ring. I go, "Wow, geez, I guess I was all right." And that was the first one. The second one was, a friend of mine was at Caesars that night, okay? And it was in the outdoor arena at Caesars. And it was one of those things, he was out in the parking lot. And there was another building at Caesars called the Pavilion, the Caesars Pavilion, which is where one of the great fights of all time took place, Ken Norton and Larry Holmes in '78. It's the Caesars. This is not there anymore. They added another tower there and some foliage and another pool and all kinds of stuff. But corporate America took over and they screwed Caesars up. But anyways, to make a long story short, he was in the parking lot and he sees the fan man starting to come down, and he thought it was a helicopter and the motor was off because he couldn't hear anything coming from it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He couldn't hear it. And all of a sudden he got close to him. He looked and he sees it's a person. In his wildest dreams, he didn't think the guy was flying into the ring. By the way, he was not there for boxing. He had nothing to do with the boxing. He was there for another function.
Wow.
Totally went inside to take a walk in the parking lot. So there you go.
Wow. But the fan man was there for the boxing.
Yeah, the fan man was there for the boxing for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
The fan man passed away. His name is Doug Miller. He's now long passed away now, by the way.
Wow. The fan man, never even knew his name. Doug Miller.
He wanted his 15 minutes of fame. He got it all right.
He got it. And he turned out to be more painful than he could ever have expected. I still remember getting beat.
How about the bow, the beatdown the guy, his people gave him in the ring? Oh, that was great.
That's what I'm saying. That guy took one. He's flying happily like a bird 1 minute. Next minute he lands, and immediately he was set up on.
It was almost like Bo's homies knew that he was coming in, and they were ready for him.
They were ready for him. Like, what the hell is this? We don't know what it is. Let's kill him. We don't know what it is. Let's kill him. Okay, so Big Boys Boxing comes back. Sorry, I meant James Toney. Did that James Toney actually lose to Dave Tiberi in your?
No, I'm going to explain that fight to you and why it happened. Dave Tiberi can't break a grape. He landed more punches. He threw more punches, but they're like little powder puffs. And when you read boxing judges, before they judge a fight, they'll always read up on the fight before. And everybody called Dave Tiberi a club fighter and feather-fisted. He can't break a grape. If you looked at his record, you saw he couldn't break a grape. So the judges tend to not give a guy like that the credit they do for landing punches because they're feather-fisted, rather than the known guy who can punch, the champion who can punch, and he's heavy-handed. So the other guys got outlanded them by quite a bit, and they just didn't go for it. Was it a robbery? No, it wasn't a robbery. Was it a good decision? Not really. Mm-hmm. If you would have asked me, it was a draw. Mm-hmm. Okay, I had it 6 rounds apiece, but I don't think it was a robbery. I think that the stupidity of Dave Tiberi not taking the rematch was ridiculous. He refused the rematch. I mean, that was like, he kept telling them there wasn't enough money and all kinds of stories. And I think today he probably regrets that.
Well, of course. I mean, damn, he turned down a good payday. What else would he have got? What did he get instead? You didn't get as much as you would have got against Tony. So that is most unfortunate. What are we going on here? What are the signs a boxer is on the back nine? And that's
okay. Well, the back nine, that's my little tag for guys that are not what they were. There's a lot of things. It depends on the fighter. But here's one example. Assume the fighter is right-handed. He goes to throw his right hand punch. He misses more often than he used to, and his right rear foot comes off the ground when he throws it, and he's off balance. When you first see him come up in the ring, if they don't come up in the ring like they used to, where like they run up the stairs and they're all moving, okay, or they come up and they're barely able to get up the steps, he's shot. I mean, that guy's shot. Just like when Johnny Bumpus fought Lloyd Hunnigan, they needed two guys to get him in the ring.
Yeah.
Well, if you notice, when Lennox Lewis fought Vitaly Klitschko, he had trouble getting into the ring that night. I was there ringside. I noticed that right away. Damn. And of course, he never fought again. So there you go. That's one way. Punch resistance goes way down. Okay, that in other words, where you can't take the punches you did. Your hand speed's not there. Your balance isn't there. There's just so many telltale signs. Okay, I mean, there's a dozen of them off the top of my head. Another thing is that people don't consider desire to train and win a fight. Sometimes you're physically not on the back nine, you're mentally on the back nine. Okay, that doesn't help either. So there's many ways. It's a great question, and that's like a show in itself, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
that's an hour of a show, to be honest with you.
That's an hour of a show. That's an hour of a show.
But there's a lot of telltale signs. Desire has something to do with it too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No question. When a fighter, another thing is like when a heavyweight used to run 3.5 miles a day, and he can only run 2.5. That's a telltale sign right there.
Dropping off. Less punch resistance is a big sign, of course, definitely. In your experience, have you seen a guy just drop off from one fight to the next, just drop off that you weren't expecting?
Many. I mean, countless. For Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis was completely against Vitaly Klitschko, was completely shot. Completely. And it showed. He didn't have the balance. He barely got up into the ring on his own. I mean, everything. I mean, just, there's a typical. That's why he never fought again. He didn't need the money. He didn't want to lose, and he wanted to go out as champ. It made sense.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I mean, he was 37. He was 37. He was in his 38th year. He was at 37, turning 38. And it was time to go. He selected wisely. I don't know if we've spoken about it before, but people talk about, Lennox didn't go back and give Vitaly a rematch. Why would he? He was at the end of his career. Why would you do that? You're at the end of your career. That's stupid.
Listen, the most I have, and you know this, Rob, from our previous conversations and previously being on your show, I have a tremendous amount of respect as a human being and as a fighter for Joe Calzaghe, because he knew when he fought Roy Jones, he was shot. The game was over, and he left the game. Okay, he knew he didn't have it anymore. Okay, so everybody says, as I told you, everybody says, oh, he fought a guy that was shot, and Roy Jones was shot when they fought. Yeah, so was Joe Calzaghe. Okay, then they say, well, Bernard Hopkins wasn't what he was. What are you talking about? That was in 2008. The guy fought for almost another 10 years, about another 10 years, and became champ again. I mean, ridiculous. Ridiculous. People talk out of both sides of their mouth. Facts are facts. Okay, Bernard was still Bernard when he fought Joe Calzaghe. Hopkins wasn't Hopkins, but Calzaghe wasn't Calzaghe.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So it's question. It boils down to a matter of degree, and you know, we're not scientists, so we ain't gonna do that. Don't worry about what's going on. Yes, AD up in the building. Okay, that's just some chatter in the chat, but okay, while they're getting there.
AD, thank you.
Yeah. What did AD say? AD.
Big up every time to you and I.
Okay, cool. Every time.
I didn't want to speak for you.
Okay, so we're switching it up. We're switching lanes. Where are we now? We're switching lanes. So let me go into this section of the show. And okay, it's just me asking you some pertinent points from this piece I saw. So Chris Eubank Jr. Has enlisted Roy Jones Jr. as his trainer. What say you, Rick Glaser?
I think I've seen Chris Eubank fight. I think he's got some talent, and I think he needs a Roy Jones type of guy to get the best out of him and further his knowledge in the ring, because I don't think people have taught him everything he should know, or more, or at least more than he does know, because you can see he doesn't know as much as he should with as many fights as he had, considering his father was also an excellent fighter. So I think a new look by a guy like a Roy Jones who knows the science of the game, I think it's a perfect fit, to be honest with you. Perfect fit.
Perfect fit. Do you know anything about Roy Jones as a trainer, or not really? He's unproven.
Yes, I do. I know Roy very well. I know Roy on a first name basis. I've got his cell number. We're friends. I love the guy. He's a great guy. Truth of the matter is, he's an excellent trainer. The problem is he's never trained a guy from the beginning. He ends up with fighters that are already messed up, like Devin Alexander, who are on the back nine, completely on the back nine. So he's never taken a fighter from the beginning. So there's no telling how great he could be, but he definitely can improve a fighter that's already a world-class professional fighter. He can raise their game, no question about that in my mind.
Okay, so what are we doing here? We're going on to the next. So let's share. Hold on, let's cancel that. Where are we? Okay, we're going over to a guy you've worked with regularly. Let's share this with you. There we go. Okay, so hopefully I'm sharing. So it says Arum eyeing Pacquiao versus Crawford for the Middle East or Macau.
I don't think people are running to China for big fights right now, and Macau's part of China. So I don't know about that. The Middle East, Dubai or Saudi Arabia, good possibility. I think it's great for boxing. I think it's great for Crawford. I think it's great for Pacquiao, and I think it's a big fight. I think Crawford wins, but I think it's still a very, very good fight. As even at age 41 for
Pacquiao.
To be honest with you, I wouldn't have said that 2.5 years ago, but he's really made a good comeback, and he looks rejuvenated. So I think it's a better fight than it would have been 2.5 years ago in my mind, but I still definitely think Crawford wins the fight.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting when Pacquiao came back, because he had a little hiatus. I wasn't really expecting him to be challenging the top guys. I was very surprised when he opted to go with Thurman, and well, he did a job. So yeah, you're right. He's rejuvenated. I I've been looking at certain fighters, and oh yeah, I may as well ask you this. I'm looking at certain fighters and the fighting relatively frequent, and I'm looking at. I shouldn't even mention his name because he's going to come up shortly. He's going to come up in a few minutes, so I shouldn't even mention his name. But I will answer. I will ask you this question. It's often said that fighting regularly is a good idea. It's a good thing for a fighter to fight regularly. But on the flip side, do you think that it can sometimes help heal the brain when a fighter takes some time off?
It depends on the style of fighter. If a fighter's relying on timing, footwork and timing and hand speed and foot speed, and he doesn't get hit a lot, then he can fight more often. If he's the kind of guy who takes a lot of punishment, like a Joe Frazier type of guy, who took a lot of punishment, those type of fighters like Arturo Gatti, he took a lot of punishment, Boom Mancini. When you're those kind of fighters, then it's better to rest more longer in between fights. And because of cuts, you have to rest longer in between fights. So that would make a lot of sense. But if the guy's a boxer, athletic, he doesn't get hit a lot, you can fight more often. And it's better if you fight more often because it keeps your timing sharp.
Yeah. So I think what we're agreeing on there is that it's not always the best idea for a fighter to fight frequently. It may benefit some fighters not to fight frequently.
Right, exactly. Depends on the fighter's style, how much he gets hit. It depends on what he's relying on to win fights. If he's relying on foot speed and hand speed and he doesn't get hit a lot, then it's good he fights often. If he's relying on that and he gets hit often, if he's not relying on that kind of stuff and he gets hit often, then no, it's not a good idea to fight often. As often.
Yeah. It says, Big Boy says, Rick, have you heard of a small heavyweight called Hemi Ahayo? And if so, what do you think of him? Where's that guy from? Is he a New Zealander?
Yeah, New Zealander, Tongan something. Yeah, I know of him. I haven't seen him yet. I heard he's good. I just haven't seen him. He's too new. When he's about to go to England or about to go to the United States, I'll look into him more. But right now, he's just another heavyweight from one of those countries that can punch, like the Tongan and Samoan that can punch. And let's hope he does something. But in the meantime, I don't know enough about him to pass judgment on if he's going anywhere in the big picture.
Okay, I'm changing gears again. Question I meant to ask you multiple times, but often forgot. Don King. You worked quite a bit with Don King. Now the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room with Don King is his habits with paying or not paying fighters. Would you kindly speak on that?
No, he always pays his fighters. That's not what happened. What Don's problem is, Don lures guys into signing contracts by offering them, like say, for a particular fight. Let's say the fight's worth $1.2 million, $2.250. Don's offering him $1 million. I'll give you $300,000 cash right now. So the fighter is liable to take it. Okay, more often than not. So what happens is the $300,000 goes, and now Don's got the fighter for $250,000 less than the fight's worth. Then, when the final tally comes up, all the managers, the trainers, and the organization, they take their 3% off the top. The trainer takes his 10%. The manager takes his 30%, and everybody takes their percentages. But the percentages have to come off off the million. The percentages don't come off to 700,000. So now by the time the guy pays his taxes, pays everybody, he's got 250,000 left and he thinks he got robbed. That's a big problem. Okay. Don doesn't rob fighters. That's a bunch of crap. Because Rafi, do you really think the state boxing commissions would tolerate that? Don't you think that it would have been a criminal matter and the FBI would have stepped in over here, or the Department of Justice, okay, or the racketeering division of state law enforcement? They've never, ever, ever gone after Don King. It's always been civil because it's not a crime. He didn't commit crimes. And in the meantime, is the Mike Tyson thing. They handled $1 billion, and there was 14 million missing. That's 0.00014%. Now, Rafi, if you're going to rob people and you're handling $1 billion, would you rob them out of 14 million, or would you rob them out of 140 million? I rest my case.
Well,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. I hear what you're saying, but I hear what you're saying totally. What Don did, it seems to me, is that he said to people, "Hey, listen, this is yours. This 300K. I can pay you 300K. Forget about everybody else. Forget about this. Forget about that. Do a bit of sweet talking." The guy agrees to a fight for half of what it should have been, and then
Well, not half. Let's say it's a million. Fight should be $1,250,000. He tells him $1 million. I'll give you 300,000 right now. Not half. But
yeah,
what happens is now everybody's got to be paid 45% off the top, which is 30% to the managers, 10% to the trainer, 3% to the organization, and normally about 2% between the cut man and other stage hands, about 2% total. So you got 45%. Now, okay, now that's 450,000. Now that's off the 750. Now the guy ends up with 350. Now he's got to pay his taxes on that other 300,000 that Don gave him, and the 250 and the 350 he got. So now by the time he pays his taxes, he's got nothing left. So Don robbed him. Don didn't rob him. That guy's just not a good businessman.
so why would he not just take the proper money then? Why not take the proper money?
What do you mean by that?
Why wouldn't the fighter take the proper money, the large sum rather than the sum?
Because the fighters by greed, they want the 300,000. 300,000 changes a lot of people's lives for sure. Most people. So there's your answer right there.
So why didn't you take the 500,000 instead of the 300,000?
I'm sorry?
So why would the fighter not take the larger sum? What is the enticement in taking the lesser sum from Don King?
Because Don's giving him 300,000 in cash. I'll give you $1 million, but I'll give you 300,000 cash instead of 1.25 million, and the guy never gets any money up front. So it's a game, but they all do it. They really basically all do it, but nobody does it to the extent Don does it. Okay, Don did it on every deal practically.
And what's in it for Don? What's in it for Don? Obviously, there's a profit in it for him.
Well, he's not paying him 250 off the top. And if you do that, and let's just say, for instance, you do that to 6 fighters on the same card total. Okay, and the average is 50,000. That's 300,000 for a show. Okay, and the average is 50,000. So, and if you already got one guy for 250, the other guys are 50. That's 250. That's 600,000 on the show you save, and you make what you save. You make. So there's your answer.
What you save, you make. So these guys who took short money, these guys ended up taking short money, thinking it was long money. They thought it was long money, turned out to be short money.
Right, of course. Listen, Don's. I'm not saying that Don's, a saint, a saint in a church. All I'm saying to you is, it's not what it seems. That these people think that Don robbed them, because, like I said, why don't the boxing commission step in? Why doesn't the FBI step in? Why doesn't the state organized crime task force step in, which would constitute any financial crime that involves 3 or more people's organized crime would step in. So you tell me, you tell me why, because it didn't exist. Okay, being smarter than somebody else does not make it a crime.
But I will say this, Rick. I will say this: there were certain practices which were unbecoming and not, arguably, not, could not be characterized as being in the higher bracket of ethics.
Of course, 1,000%. You're preaching to the converted there, but he didn't rob anybody.
No,
okay? He took advantage of people. That I'll tell you. Robbery is a different story. He didn't cheat them or beat them or deceive them. He outsmarted them.
Hell yeah! I totally agree with that. He outsmarted them.
Well, there's another question here: Pascal versus Kova Jones Jr. Yeah, but he can make a guy a little bit better, like I said. But why was Pascal really beating Kovalev? I don't think so.
So I'm just staying with the Don King thing for a moment.
Sure.
Because there's certain things to be said about that. I understand your affiliation with Don, but we still have to talk about this. Perhaps it would be remiss of me not to.
Listen, I'm an open book, and Don knows that. There's no, I talked to Don the other day, up to like 2 days ago. Don and I are cool. He knows how we feel. It's not a secret.
Yeah. So Don King is too clever. Don King is too clever to rob people. That's what I'm saying. He's too clever.
Really? He doesn't have to. Why does it have to steal from you? He can just talk you out of it.
Yeah, he didn't have to rob anybody because he just outsmarted. Right. He outsmarted.
Right. It's like the joke in New York City. You don't need a gun to rob anybody. You only have to open up a restaurant.
Bam, 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 bam.
Don just outsmarted people. Don's a very shrewd guy. Don tried to outsmart me one night over 1,500, just between us. And then I said, "No, you're not doing that to me." I said, "Don owed me 5,000. He tried to give me let me give you this right now." No, Don, send me the check, will you?
Send the damn check. Send the damn check.
Yep.
So. Don King outsmarted Tyson Fury to the tune of tens of millions.
No, Mike Tyson, you mean? You said Tyson Fury.
Oh, no, Mike Tyson, sorry.
You got your Tysons mixed up.
I got my Tysons mixed up. We're talking about Iron Mike now, not Pillow Fist Mike.
Right.
Pillow Fist Fury. That's a joke, by the way. That's a joke.
Yeah, he didn't outsmart Mike Tyson. That wasn't the issue. The issue was the 14 million that they couldn't find in the final accounting of when they did a forensic audit with handling $1 billion. They couldn't find 14 million. I know where the 14 million was. I knew exactly where it was. It was Don grabbing. It was Mike grabbing briefcases of money and Don deducting it. One. And then also Mike Tyson asked Don to get a townhouse in New York, a row house. I'm sorry, to use it as an office. And Don had already relocated to Florida, and Mike wanted Don to have a New York City presence. So Don had to stock the people with employees and pay the rent there and everything else, and that's what happened. And Don took that out of Mike's pay. Mike knew it, but when push came to shove, Mike denied it. It's all right. Don's a big boy. Mike's a big boy.
So Don King had to pay Mike Tyson won a settlement against Don King in court.
Yeah, 14 million, which was the amount of money missing.
I don't think that, excuse me, Rick. I think they settled on 14 million, but 14 million, as I understand it, was not the amount of money missing. He settled on 14.
No, it was 14 million was missing. He sued for 150 million. They only proved in the account forensic audit there was 14 million missing. That's what he paid. Don said, "I'm willing to go to trial if it's more than 14 million because that's what's missing." That was what was uncalled for.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to do more research on that one. But what I will say is that Don King also had certain practices which were highly questionable, i.e., he had his son or stepson working as a manager. There was a conflict of interest with Don being the promoter and his son being the manager, Rick Glaser.
Okay, well, yes and no. There is truth to that, but that's not really true. Here's why. Okay, first of all, the son had no association with Mike Tyson at all. The son had zero, so that wasn't the issue there. Okay, number one, he was not the manager. He wasn't an advisor. The fighter, Carl King always had a partner, and the partner was the guy who brought him the fighter. Okay, in other words, the man who was the original manager was. He calls up Carl. Oh, blah blah blah. Okay, can we be partners? Yes. Okay, and that person negotiated for that fighter. Carl never negotiated with his father for that fighter. Now, if Carl was the sole manager post 1997, now that Carl told these fighters, get yourself an attorney to negotiate. Okay, if you're uncomfortable for any reason. So all that is all conjecture and what people made of it and everything else. All those fighters post 1997 were armed with attorneys if Carl was the sole manager. Before that and after that, if they already had a manager, that manager negotiated with that co-manager negotiated with that, not Carl. Okay.
So there was a conflict of interest with Don King having his people manage.
No. It wasn't his people. Independent people brought fighters to Carl. They had no association with Don. Don didn't even know half of them. Okay, Don met up people after the fact, but they called Carl up, and because Carl was in the management business. So they called Carl up. He says, can we be partners? Yeah, okay. Or I got 10,000 into them. Okay, the first 10,000 I make, I'll give you the 10,000 back, or I'll give you 5,000 of it back. Okay, no problem. So Don never negotiated for fighters with his father post 1997 with any fighter. And the reason why it was 97 is when the Ali Act came into play. That's when the Ali Act came in, where it was illegal to have a conflict of interest. Before that, the partner was negotiating, but if Carl was the sole manager, then he was negotiating. Yes, before 97. But he had nothing to do with Mike Tyson's career. Zero.
Okay. I'll have to do some more research on that. And Hey, we're on it, mate. We're on it. Okay, what's going on in the chat? Okay, I got one from Marla. Rick, what do you think the future holds for Jamal Charlo? Will he ever step up?
He hasn't shown any inkling to do so yet. And he's been a champ, was junior middleweight champ, now middleweight champ. I just don't see that. I don't see him challenging himself at the top level. I think he's going to walk out of the game with, his $1 million a fight that he nets out. And I think he's going to be happy with that. I just don't see it. May he take one challenging fight? I don't know. I just don't think he's going to. I just don't think he's got that kind of fortitude. I think that Lions only motto or slogan. I think that's a bunch of bullocks, and as they say over in the UK, a bunch of bullocks.
Yeah. Okay, we got a fella in the chat. We all know who he is. Man who wears the red jacket. I've been busy doing the interview, so I've missed some of your comments, my friend. But you have to be polite, my friend, my red jacketed friend. Kindly be polite. I think we've had to get rid of some of your comments because they're highly impolite.
Impolite. Come on, ask the impolite. I love impolite questions. I love it.
What in play? In play? What in play? Question? No, I'm just. No, I'm
something
talking.
impolite. Come on, something impolite. Did you say?
Impolite. No. He's just no. He's just a fella with behavioral problems. Abandoned before, gave him a second chance. It's nothing to do with you. It's just general behavior overall. And you need to behave yourself. Nothing to do with you, Rick. It's just a pattern of behavior. You need to get yourself. You need to get a grip of yourself, my friend. You need to get yourself under. I'm talking to the fella, the red jacket, Mr. Red Jacket. You need to get yourself under control. Okay, so we got another one for Rick. Who can beat Beterbiev at 175? Can anyone come?
Nobody right now. Zero. Zero. I mean, I think Yardy lasts maybe 2 rounds with him. I think he's just search and destroy. He's a destruction. He's incredibly strong. He's got great balance. He doesn't have the best chin, but you know what? I don't think anybody in that division punches hard enough to get him out of there. I just don't see it. I just think he's a beast. He doesn't get talked about enough, but he's a beast. He really is.
He's a beast. He's an absolute beast. What was his last fight against Glow? What was it? I saw it
back in October 18th. Guys, go Zach, or ever how you pronounce it.
Something go something.
He beat him down pretty good.
It was a
pretty
beating.
good.
It was a damn good beating. Where are we now? Okay, Mr. T up in the building. Any thoughts on Lomachenko-Lopez fight?
We hit on that last week, you and I. I think that Lomachenko, when you first think about it, it's supposed to win. But I liken the fight to Ricky Hatton and Costa Tszyu. Lomachenko's long in the tooth. Lomachenko's long in the tooth. Loma's long in the tooth. He's not what he was. He's at a big weight class for him. He's really can still make 30. And I just think that this guy might be too tenacious, powerful, young, strong, and fast, and rise to the occasion. Now, the other flip side is, could this turn into be identical to Calzaghe and Jeff Lacey? Could be identical fight too, where he gets totally played with. It's a very, very, very tough fight to figure. Okay, because Lomachenko will be a big. Lomachenko will be a big favorite. I like Lopez only for that reason, because I think that you get good odds for your money on the fight. But something about Teofimo Lopez is special to me. He rose to the occasion when he fought Conley. Second round, one punch destruction. And I just think he's a special fighter. I really do. Something about him. I'll tell you one thing. He's got balls down to his ankles. That's not a bad thing. That's a good start. And he's got a lot of energy. That's another good thing. So there you go.
He could get taught one hell of a. He could get taught one hell of a lesson by Lomachenko, though.
Oh yeah, like I said, it could be Lacey. It could be Lacey, Calzaghe, Lacey all over again, or it could be Hatton and another Hatton and Costa Tszyu performance. So who knows? Don't know, do we?
Yeah, Exactamundo. Okay, they keep on coming. Troy Graham says, Raphael Dawkins, everything Rick is saying about Don King sounds like what Heyman is doing at PBC. Ask Rick if there's a difference between the PBC and Don King.
Well, there's a lot of difference between PBC and Don King. Is there a difference between Heyman and Don King? Yeah. Okay. PBC puts on horrible fights as a general rule. Okay, when they have a good one, everybody's, that was a great fight, great show by PBC last time. What a great fight! It happens so infrequently. That's why you had to mention it, because you were surprised yourself, right? Okay. Don always put on good fights.
Yes.
Okay, Don told fighters, you're gonna fly on me, you got to fight people.
Yeah.
Okay, Don's not holding people's hands, so that's a big difference. Another thing is Don put a lot of world title fights on one show. If you see a PBC show, they put maybe one full title on, then maybe an interim title. Don put 6 world title fights on in one night. He put 4 shows of world title fights on regularly. Okay, so you got a much better bang for your buck with Don King.
Yeah.
Now, going to Al Heyman and Don, there's a big difference. Al Heyman thinks all these fighters thinks that Al Heyman's their best friend. Okay, Don never gave anybody that impression. Don was, this is what I'm going to do for you, and you got to stand up, motherfucker. Okay, it was Don. Al Heyman comes off as, I'm your Uncle Al. I'm going to help you out in life. I'm going to show you about your finances and all that stuff. It's all bullshit. Ask all these fighters that are with PBC, where's the foreign TV money? They don't even know it exists. Where's that going? Al Heyman. Case closed.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'm gonna reopen the case.
With Don, you knew what you were dealing with. Heyman tries to cover up in some masquerade. Big difference. He's wearing the mask as a nice guy when he's really not. Continue.
I will continue. So along that vein, I get the feeling the fighters, I repeat, I get the feeling, I don't have documents in my filing cupboard. I get the feeling that fighters get paid better under Al Heyman. Discuss.
Okay, not really. Okay, because here's why. Okay, they get paid for meaningless fights more money with Don King. But when you were in real fights for Don King, you got more money in comparison to then and now. In other words, remember, you got to take inflation into account and everything else like that. But Don was paying his guys a lot of money when they were in real fights. A lot of money in real fights. Okay, Heyman pays them too much money in bum fights. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. But he doesn't pay them that much more in a big fight because they're already getting too much money in a bum fight.
I hate to do this to you, Rick, but gotta talk about Tim Witherspoon. Don King, it is said, royally, pardon my French, screwed Tim Witherspoon in the screwed Tim Witherspoon. You want to talk about that, Rick?
Sure, absolutely. Okay. The Frank Bruno fight was canceled, postponed multitude of times. He was in the training camp at Orwell. He used sparring partners, a bunch of them. He had homies there. He had no association with the necessity of the camp, and he charged him for all that stuff. Okay, and the fight was delayed, I don't know, multiple times because of injuries and TV commitments and all that kind of stuff. And Don wasn't promoting the show. It was promoted in England. Okay, and in the meantime, Don had no control over that. So when they added up all the expenses, Don took the training expenses off the top and then started paying everybody. Tim took $300,000 in advances. There's another case, and when it's all said and done, there was nothing left. Okay, but $91,000. Well, you can't blame Don for that. What about the taxes? The UK taxes of 31%. Okay, Tim, listen. Don settled that because it was costing too much to go through lawsuits and everything else, and to continue on and appeal it. Just got it behind him. He all that money. I'm not saying that there wasn't some discrepancies there, but he didn't get robbed. Okay. There were, you got to pay your taxes to the UK, no question. You got to pay back your training expenses. You got to pay back you pay the WBA their 3%. You got to pay your managers, your trainers, your cut men. You got to pay everybody. Your nutritionist, okay. And by the time Tim took all his advances and all his people were charged for their rooms at the Don King camp in Orwell, Ohio, then they took the taxes out and everything else. He got $91,000 left. I believe it was. I believe it was $91,000. Okay. But he already took $300,000.
Damn. Dame. I believe Rick Glaser has frozen, but he's unfrozen. He's unfrozen now. Yeah, okay. I see you blinking, Rick. You froze up there for a second. Okay, Rick. I had to do this to you, but I gotta go in. These are questions on my mind relating to Don King. All right. So Don King, why?
Ralph, when I told you from the beginning, there's nothing off limits. Okay, when it comes to being with me. Okay.
You're good to your word. Don King didn't show his fighters, some fighters, the paperwork. They didn't get the paperwork. They didn't get the financial breakdown. Don King had fighters signing blank contracts. Discuss.
Well, I wasn't around Don King at that time, so I can't tell you that. My relationship with Don officially started on February 18th, 2003. And accumulated consecutively through 2016 when I got the cancer. Now, I did take a 6-month hiatus in 2008 from Don because I worked on the Roy Jones Calzaghe show, and that took 6 months, and I signed an exclusive deal for 6 months. Don understood that. That wasn't a secret. I did my thing for 6 months with them and moved, and then went back with Don. But this is all before my time, so I can't tell you if it's true. I will tell you that post 1997, when the laws changed because the Ali Act, all that kind of stuff stopped. Okay, number one. And when I was involved with Don from 2003 on, I never saw anything that was irregular or dishonest or even creepy from Don. And Don never asked me to do anything that was illegal or completely unethical. I will tell you there was some gray areas that we deeply discussed. Okay, Okay, and we straightened them out before I proceeded because I didn't like the way what he was saying to me as far as what he wanted me to do. So I wanted more clarification, and I wanted to let him know how far I would go. Mm-hmm. So I would not say that Don did anything illegal when I was with him that I know of, or I was part of, or that I saw from 2003 on. I think from 97 on, long before I started with Don, 6 years before I started with Don, I think the Ali Act precluded Don from doing anything that was illegal. And because, not that Don was afraid of the Ali Act, but all the fighters were aware of it. So, they were very conscious of it and everything else like that. So things changed a lot in 97. So I didn't see that. Now, but I'm not saying to you that it never went on, because prior to 97, because I heard it did, but I was not privy to it, number one. Number two, it was prior to 1997.
Okay, so another question from me, what does a fighter do? Because this isn't just fighting, this is about contract law. It applies to music as well. What does the sportsman, the musician, the artist, the writer, what do they do to stop themselves getting taken advantage of, like many boxing promoters have taken advantage of boxers?
And music acts, they all do. Well, first of all, is either get a manager that's completely honest, okay, and a manager that's completely honest, number one, or get that has background, understands contracts and negotiation, or bring an attorney in. Okay, I mean, I don't know, fighters were never taken advantage of with promoters when I was involved, because I wrung the last dollar out of every deal within a reason. Sometimes, as I told you prior, Ralph, sometimes the most amount of money on a deal is not the best deal.
Right.
Okay. So in other words, so if they're saying, okay, well, I'll give you this, I'll give you 500,000 for this fight, but you got to sign this for future fights, or the next fight you're going to get this. No. This is this fight right now. Let's deal with this. I'd rather take this. I don't need that money. Okay. I don't need that little 50,000 difference or something like that on that kind of fight. So it's not the best deal is always not the best amount of money. Okay. But I will tell you that I made the best deals. I continue to make great deals for fighters. And, I'm attuned to all the ways that promoters can take advantage of fighters. So I'm not going to allow that to happen with myself. There's no reason. I have too much pride.
Okay.
Troy's got another question here. Troy says, Raphael, ask Rick if Don King is Heyman's mentor in the boxing business. Yes and no. Yes and no. A little bit, but not totally. But you come from the same hometown. They eat together once in a while. They have lunch together at Slyman's Deli, a Jewish deli in Cleveland. And, they're friends, no question. But I wouldn't necessarily call Al his mentor, but Al has learned a lot from Don.
Al has learned a lot from Don. I heard that Al was. What do you know about Al Heyman's? What do you know about Al Heyman's background? When did Al Heyman pop up on your radar?
2001 with the Vernon Forrest deal. His first fighter he signed was Vernon Forrest, and the second one he signed was a pro debut named Derek Edwards, who was from North Carolina at the time, who now lives in Arizona. And he never panned out as a top professional. He was a good fighter, but not a world championship level. And those were his first two fighters. It was 2001.
And when did you realize that Al Heyman was going to be a force, whatever kind of force you think, but a force in boxing? When did it dawn on you?
I don't know about the time frame. I can't remember.
Okay.
That's like two. That's a good question, but I would have to give you a vague answer because I don't know what time frame. I never thought about it that way.
Okay.
So I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Were you aware of Al Heyman's background in the music industry? He promoted music. He had clubs.
Lou DiBella told me that he had some hip hop acts and some rap acts and that soul and that kind of music and stuff like that, but rhythm and R&B and stuff. But I didn't know him from a bag of beans.
Okay. Yeah, I did some research on him a while back, and apparently he was the guy who he hired Serge Knight as a bodyguard way back in the day. He used to run clubs. I think he went from clubs to promoting artists. And I guess that's where he got the promotion bug from. I also heard that he had a boxer. He had a brother boxer who was
Bobby Heyman, a journeyman fighter. Yep.
Yeah, who got taken advantage of, and he was
taken advantage. He was a journeyman fighter going nowhere. Please, everybody say he got taken advantage of. That's his story, but that's crap. He was just a guy. He was not a noteworthy guy in boxing history.
Mm-hmm.
Far from a journeyman fighter at best. I could look up his record right now to show that to you, but he didn't get taken advantage of. He was just a warm body.
Just a warm body. And what you say his name was? Bobby Heyman.
Yeah, let me look him up right now for you because I hate to have. We got 5 more minutes on the show here, so let me look them up as possible. Hold on 1 second now. Bobby Heyman. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I'm doing it too. Let's do it together.
I got it right here. Hold on, it's coming up right now.
Okay.
He was 21, 8-1. So he had 30 fights, 9 knockouts. He was stopped twice. He lost the last fight to Sugar Ray Leonard. Okay. He had a no contest. He lost to Ronnie Harris, who was a decent guy. Johnny Gant, good fighter. Jack Tillman was just a guy. Ralph Correa, just a journeyman fighter, got stopped by him. How did he get taken advantage of? I mean, he lost to Johnny Gant. He lost to Teddy Cooper, who was just a warm body. He had a draw with Teddy Cooper. He wasn't going anywhere. The journeyman fighter. So how was he taking advantage? Look at the beginning of his career. You can always tell in the guy's first 5 fights. He fought a guy 1-17-1, 7-1. He lost the decision.
Yeah.
Okay, Teddy Cooper 4-3. He lost to him. Then in the rematch, Teddy Cooper is now 5-3. They had a draw. Then he fought a guy 1-10. Where was he taking advantage of? Okay, he was what he started out as, just a guy, and that's all he ever was. And where was he taking advantage of? I mean, somebody would have to explain to me that. I mean, he fought guys before Ray Leonard. He fought a guy 3-5, 0-1, 3-10. Had a no decision with a guy 15-2. He lost to Ronnie Harris 25-2. Fought a guy 10-8. This guy never won a fight that he wasn't supposed to win.
Is this the guy on the screen now? 21-8-1.
Yes.
21.
How did he get taken advantage of?
Bobby Heyman. Well, I'm gonna have to research that and do a video on that because I never actually looked him up before. He was just this mythical brother. But now I see him right there. I can see a family resemblance. So that, my friends, is going to be a video. That's going to be a video. It's an interesting topic. Never actually thought to look him up before. So yeah, that's very interesting indeed. And I think
he was a sparring partner type and journeyman fighter. Get taken advantage of. I don't know what anybody would be referring to.
He was not taken advantage of. So that was the
very clear.
That was the brother of Al Heyman, Bobby Heyman. You've just seen him up there on the screen, probably for the first time ever. And I think that brings us almost. We got BH, we got EJ Boxing, we got Marla, we got Mr. T. We got a couple of quick fire questions, Rick, before you.
Fire away. Come on, fire.
Okay, so has Rick authored any books or does he plan to do so?
Yes, I'm going to write a book. Definitely. 100%. Not a tell-all book, a book about funny stories.
Why not tell all?
There's no reason. There's no reason. What am I going to write about Lou DiBella? What a piece of garbage he is? I mean, come on.
Rick, you must have seen some things backstage. You must have seen behind the curtain.
Not really. Nothing that shocked me or surprised me. Nothing. Zero. Zero.
Okay.
This is boxing. It's like a free for all. Okay. Well,
okay.
Yeah, but I do plan on doing a funny book. Not funny, but good stories. And that's my experiences in boxing.
Okay, so boxing
that over after AJ Wilder and Fury, Daniel Dubois.
Okay, so the question is, sup guys? Question for Ricky: who will be the next heavyweight? Now,
Dubois. Daniel Dubois.
It's going to be Daniel Dubois. Marla says, Rick, who are you picking between Usyk and Chisora?
Usyk.
Why?
Faster, better boxer, slick, smart, better conditioned athlete, all those reasons.
Yes. Okay, and what do you think about Iron Barkley not being in the Hall of Fame?
He should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. That's a big oversight. Never even been on the ballot. I put his name in. I didn't put any names in for any other fighters until Donald Curry was in. That was my pet peeve that he wasn't in, but he was on the ballot. Now that he's in, Donald Curry, Iran Barkley is now my pet peeve.
Right. Okay. So quickly, we got a matter of seconds going now. How do you rate Lomachenko, Rick? For me, I haven't seen his kind of skills in a long time. That's
tremendous. Between him and Pernell Whitaker and Spadafora, those are incredible lifetime skills and some of the best skills ever in boxing. So yes, unbelievably skilled fighter. Incredible, actually, skills. Okay,
Okay, no, I think that's it. I think that is it, Rick. I think those are all of the questions. I think you answered every question that was posed to you, Rick. We've done it again, Rick. We've done it again. It's been another show. It's been boxing.
Listen, if I was weaving and bobbing your questions, what kind of guy would I be?
You'd be normal. Normal. Rick ain't normal.
No, not weaving and bobbing. This guy is not weaving and bobbing.
Mhm.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Continue to support Rafi on this show. It's a great show. I enjoy it tremendously. You're always going to get the truth with Rafi and myself. And I'm looking forward to doing this again. Hopefully next week you'll have me on.
Absolutely.
And hopefully the questions that were not answered today will be answered next week.
Absolutely, 100%. That was Rick Glaser on for 4 weeks consecutively, and we're going for the record of 5 next week. Rick's up for it. I'm up for it, and I think you're up for it. We're all up for it.
My wife loves me on this show. It gives her 2 hours to relax and not have me ask her any questions.
Rick, it's always I like the fact that you shoot from the hip, and you did once again this week, and I'm expecting nothing less next week. Thank you very much, Rick Glaser.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Good night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.
All of Rick's details are in the description box. It's all there. You can follow him on Facebook, follow him on Twitter. All there in the description box. As a matter of fact, let me just check that. Yep, all his details are there in the description box. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. The show ain't over. The show ain't over. BH is dipping out. Various people are dipping out. Marla in here. I ran against Duran. Yes. What was that? Tell Ricky after the quarantine ends, I'm coming up for Buffalo Wings Festival. He's going to be my tour guide. Okay, excellent. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, absolutely. Don't forget to hit all the good buttons. Yeah, so that was Rick. That was Rick Glaser. Time flew. I was a bit concerned. I had a little bit of a headache. I've been in the sun for a long time. Sun's beating down over here in the UK. Been in the sun for a long time, going back and forth. And I had a little, those little mild headaches you can get because you've been in the sun for too long. I had a little mild headache. Well, I'm glad to say that the show solved it. I felt it just slowly evaporating away within the first half hour of the show. So there you go. Boxing Talk with Rafi helps to ease headaches. Good chat again. Yeah, absolutely. Nice and sweet and concise. And don't forget to check out my videos. You have to show more courtesy, H. Monet. You got to show more courtesy when you come over here. It ain't easy to get guests of the level and the status of Rick Glaser. So you're perfectly free to put your questions into him. But a certain amount of decorum, which is required. So, yeah, you already know the rules around here. Ask your questions, but be civil, be civilized. And it's something I want to talk about if I can find it. Where is it? That's the question. Where is Troy? Where is Troy. Where you at, Troy? Where you at? I don't know if he's still in here. I don't know if Troy Graham's still in here. If you can pop back on for a second while I look for something. If you can pop back on for a second while I look for something. Something I saw earlier on that I wanted to share with you all. But now I'm struggling. I'm struggling to find it. Where the hell is it? You know, up against a time crunch now. So the question is, will I be able to find it quickly? Will I be able to do that? Likes. Okay, let's try that. Let's try that. Let's try this. Let's try this. This is progress. Is it progress? In fact, let me share this with you. Let me share this with you while I'm looking. You can look with me. Share screen. Boom. Boom. Yeah, let's go into that. Let's go into that. This was highly hilarious to me. The World Championship of Shin Kicking. That's not what I'm looking for, but I just thought I'd share that. Let's see if we can find what I was looking for. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for, but if you have not seen the video, I think I've dropped the video already. This is Tyson Fury and Dillian White back in, when was this? 2012, 2013, 2014, when they were training together. Very, very interesting pick. Very, very interesting pick here. Why don't you jump on, Troy? Why don't you jump back on? Troy? But that's not what I was looking for. That is not what I was. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Getting slicker with it. Can I make this bigger? Can't even make the damn thing bigger. Why not? Oh, I think I am making it bigger. Am I? Or am I not? It's going smaller. What's going on? Okay, let's do this. Okay. Still too tiny. Still way too tiny. I don't know. Can I make it bigger? Can I make it bigger? No, maybe not. Maybe not. But anyway, there it is. There it is. Okay, so I think it was last week when I brought the news up. Send the link. Oh, where's the link? Okay. But you can't get into the same link you got into before? Can't use the same link you used before? No? I don't know. But boom. There you go. There's the link. Anyway, so yeah, I gave the word out. We talked about it last week. I think it was last week, but it is now official. It is now official that Andreas the Ponce Ruiz, I hear you, Andreas the Ponce Ruiz is now officially with Reynoso. Or is it Buddy? What's his first name? Is it Buddy Reynoso? There's Troy. Boom. 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 Troy.
Yes, sir.
How you doing? You good?
Yes, sir.
That's nice. That's nice. So, yeah, Reynoso is now officially training Andreas the Ponce Ruiz.
Yeah, yeah. I read up on him because I didn't know who he was, the trainer.
Yeah, it's a
His
Canelo trainer.
father, yeah, his father is a top trainer, isn't he? And then he's basically coming up because he's a young man. He's 28, right?
Okay.
And so he doesn't have anything outstanding going on now. But like I said with Andy, seeing is believing with him because you came in at 283 and you ate your way out of your own greatness and you lacked ambition. Seeing is believing when you do it. He has to be consistent. I don't care who his trainer is. He has to be consistent, and that'll put him back to where he needs to be.
Yeah, consistency is the key. Consistency is what. Damn, it's a full moon over here. I didn't notice. Consistency is what is going to be required.
In shape and just fighting a steady crop of well-known fighters. Like he turned down the fight with White, right?
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
still
he
here.
turned down the fight with White. Bad idea for him. So now I would say if you want to be steady, get in there with Martin or Martin. If you beat Martin, then you could look at Ortiz or Rivas because they're second tier tough names, and that's consistent, right?
Yeah.
Beat them, then it justifies you calling out a man out of retirement because he's Mexican named Chris Arreola. Make your money. Then you could say, look, I've been consistent. I'm in shape. I'm 3-0. I want you promised to give me a third fight. These are the three people I've been fighting, right?
Yeah.
And then it'll be up to Joshua to tell him to go kick rocks or sure, you know. But other than that, I'm not impressed with anything he does. Nothing.
You're not impressed with the Ponce, Andreas the Ponce. You're not impressed with.
No, no. Funny thing is, I'm working on a cookbook right now. Andy could use it because there's no pork and there's no beef in here.
No pork and no
You
beef.
know.
What's the matter with beef? Beef's good, isn't it? Is it not?
Takes your body a long time to break it down.
Takes your body a long time to break it down. I hear that. But smaller portions, lots of vegetables. Smaller portions of beef, lots of vegetables. That's my remedy for that. You know what I'm saying? Get the vegetables. It acts as a good good tool for evacuation. It's a good evacuation tool. So you can't really go wrong.
I should send him my recipe for my prune juice smoothie. That should help Andy some.
Prune juice smoothie.
Clear out a lot of fight.
Yeah. Clear out the system with the prune juice smoothie. I think that we've kind of rounded it up. I wanted to bring in this the tweet. I want to bring in the tweet. I want to make it official. We talked about it before, but I hear people talking about it now, so I just wanted to just touch on that again to make sure we've covered it. It is official. It is official that Andreas the Ponce Ruiz is now with Reynoso. There it is.
That's great. But with Andy, because he came from so high up, you know, he beat Goliath, and he was David for a while, right?
Yeah.
So now he has to climb back to the top of the mountain, but he has to reestablish himself. So okay, he got a trainer. You have to get back in shape and not lie like you did before. You have to get back in shape, and like I said, you have to fight someone who's very relevant and someone who's on the upside of his career right now. And the only one I could think of, like I said, would be White or Martin or who else do you have in mind, man?
White is the obvious one. White is the obvious. Who wants him? Who wants him? White wants him. Who really wants Andreas the Pants? Who wants him? White wants him. Who else?
All of them want him. White wants him. Charles Martin wants him. You know, I'm sure that Rivas would take the fight.
Rivas would take.
I'm positive Rivas would take the fight. Huh?
Yeah, Rivas would take the fight, no doubt. Rivas would take.
And if this fight with Usyk falls out, you already know that Chiro. How you say the brother name?
Which one?
Chisora. Was it
Chisora? Chisora.
Yes. Chisora. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Chisora wants. Yeah, there's quite a few people who want him. I think Ruiz would kick Martin's ass.
And those are tough guys. Those are three tough guys right there.
Yeah. Well, if he can kick his ass, which he probably could, probably would, then he's got to do it. He's got to get up off his ass. I don't understand, but then again, flip the script. Flip the script.
Yeah, and of course, then there's always his buddy Wilder.
Could it be that Ruiz is playing a smart game plan by just fighting whenever he wants to? Is that actually smart? Could it turn out in the fullness of time that he was smart just to take a fight every now and then? I don't know.
No, if I was him, I would fight twice. I'd fight twice a month at this point. I'll fight on PBC too, just to keep my face in people. I mean, because once the quarantine ends is what I'm talking about. Once, just to keep my face, just to keep my name and my face out there, and I would have to look good. I couldn't just win. I can't go in there like Floyd Mayweather and just win. I'd have to look good. Like my grandmother used to tell me, there's good, better, and best, right? And after every fight, I would talk about how I'm trying to improve and how I'm sorry I let the fans down, but I'm focused now and I'm doing this for my family and for myself. That's bullocks, as you all say, but it sounds good. It sounds good if you're a politician. I would kiss babies and wash cars and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we've done it. I think we've wrapped it up. I think I've said everything I wanted to say. I think everybody said everything they wanted to say. Everybody's got their questions in. Is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to address, Troy? Before
I'm good. Thank you for the time with Rick, man. I knew he had some James Toney stories because he shared them with me a while back, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, hopefully he could get James on the show, and also with Buddy McGirt. But I'm gonna reach out to you on the back end because I have some thoughts on some guests that you could definitely probably get, right?
We keep that on the back end. We keep that on the back end. We don't want to expose nothing. We don't want to.
I'm not saying.
We don't want to give nothing
away. But two come to right?
We don't want to give nothing away. Over here, Raphael Dawkins would like to hit people with that surprise. We like to hit them with that surprise. Surprise. Is there anyone in the chat you wish to address?
Anyone in the chat room?
Is there anyone in the chat you wish to address? There's somebody calling your name. Do you wish to address?
H Money says he wants to debate me because I guess he felt that I insulted Friend Hawthorne, aka Barbershop Conversation. So I said for it to be a fair debate, why not have it on your show, right? Because if I go on Fred's show, he's just going to cut me off. He's not going to give me a fair debate.
We can do that.
I don't know what's up with H Money. I told him that very calmly 3-4 times already. I'm not going to keep repeating myself.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Okay. So Troy Graham is buffering. Lost Troy now. Okay, that's fine. So,
yeah, I'm sorry, man. My signal dropped.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Like I said to H Money, I'll debate him and Fred. I'll clear with you to see if I get them.
Yeah.
If Fred and him want to come on this show,
Yeah.
and we'll have a fair debate. That's fine with me, but I'm not going on Barbershop because he has no respect, and he'll try and embarrass me, and he'll cut me off, and I won't get my say in.
Okay. So all of
Uh,
you
I,
guys, all of you guys can
huh?
all of you guys can congregate over here. We can make arrangements. We can set a date. I will moderate. You, Fred Hawthorne, H Money over here on Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio. We'll do it in between the main shows, so it'll be on a day when we're not doing the main show,
Yeah,
probably Tuesday,
yeah, right. Because
Thursday,
I
whatever.
don't understand why he can't do. Why Fred just can't calling from his shows from his show because he'll
Yeah,
still have his people. I think H Money has a show himself. He could call in from his show, and
yeah,
they all could just link up here, right?
yeah, absolutely.
And everybody benefits.
Whichever
But
way
I'm
you
not
want.
going on Barbershop. He has no respect.
Okay, so whichever way you want to do it, you can bring it over here. You know, the Rafi is a good and fair moderator, and we can get this thing solved. Whatever the problem is, we can solve it. If there is a problem, I solve it. Remember those words. We
Yeah,
can get
I don't
whatever
have
the
an issue with H Money. I guess H Money just wants to use my name because he knows my name will gravitate a certain amount of interest, right? Not saying I'm
okay.
a big popular guy or anything, right?
No, but still,
But
yeah.
they can gravitate a certain amount of interest, and
Mm.
he kisses their backside over there, the LBC, DAB, FG boys. I
Okay,
simply call those Judas how I see them. They're a
okay.
bunch of Judases, and that's how I see them.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen this Friday. H Money. We have a show. We have a good show on Fridays. You know what the show is? It's boxing talk and what do you call it? Boxing talk and fight review. So we do a little bit of boxing talk and then we review some fights of yesteryear. And that's how we do on a Friday. On a Monday, it's straightforward boxing talk with Rafi. I think on a Wednesday we tend to have a guest. We got in resident guest Rick Glaser, and on the Friday it is the boxing talk and vintage fights. So if there's any kind of thing with Fred Hort Barbershop Conversations and you guys, we can do that on a Tuesday or a Thursday. Maybe even sometime on a Saturday. Maybe. Okay. So that has been the show. That is the show. You have been in tune to Rick Glaser interview and Q&A. Boxing talk with Rafi 121. So I want to give out a shout out. Thank you, Rick. And a big shout out to the chat. Everybody turned up in this chat. It's been good to have your company. Rick got rid of my headache. So thanks to Rick for getting rid of my headache. Don't often get them, very, very rarely. Okay. So we've come to the end of the show. Boxing talk with Rafi 121. And how can I say? It's the like, it's the subscribe, it's the comment, it's the shares, and it's the hitting the bell icon to stay updated with news and notifications. Thanks for coming, and see you next. Probably release some videos tomorrow. I've released a couple today. By all means, go check them out. And next big evening show will be on Friday, 9 p.m. UK time. Boxing talk and classic fights. But in the meantime, the only thing left for me to say is thank you and blessed.